What's cuter than a red panda? A baby red panda. No, we can't get one at PetSmart, but people can have a look at one at the Lisbon Zoo in the capital of the European nation of Portugal. A 6-month-old red panda there is taking its first steps. And even though these animals live in treetops, a veterinarian says they're pretty clumsy as youngins with a lot to learn, kind of like us. Red pandas are native to the Himalayan mountains. They're an endangered species whose numbers in the wild are said to be decreasing. That's why this baby is so important to the Lisbon Zoo and conservation in general. It's also why it's illegal to get and keep one of these animals as a pet, though the zoo is planning to have people vote on a name for their new attraction. We'd like to nominate Sergeant Snuggleuppagus. Fridays are awesome! I'm Carl Azus. Thank you so much for watching The World from A to Z. Next subject today deals with the issue of immigration in America. The Biden administration has been under increasing pressure from Republicans and some Democrats to address the number of migrants crossing into the U.S. from its southern border with Mexico. In terms of people caught there trying to enter America illegally, new records have been set for the last 3 fiscal years in a row. A fiscal year is a financial year that runs from September to September. And a single-day record for crossings was reached earlier this week when there were 12,000 migrant encounters on Tuesday. That's defined as when someone entering America illegally is either caught and expelled or caught and allowed to go through the immigration process.
The unprecedented migrant surge on the U.S. southern border has forced thousands of migrants, including Lorean's and her 3-year-old son from Venezuela, to wait outside for immigration processing in 2 states, Texas and Arizona. Federal authorities temporarily shutting down 2 international crossings with Mexico in the last week and redirecting port of entry personnel to process migrants. In the Del Rio Border Patrol sector, migrant apprehensions have exceeded 2,500 per day some days this week, according to a law enforcement source.
We need somebody from D.C. to come over here and see this problem.
Maverick County Sheriff Tom Schmerber, a Democrat, says the influx puts a strain on his limited force.
I don't have the manpower and I don't have the equipment.
Would you invite President Biden to come here to Maverick County?
It'd be great. It'd be very, very good. I think that it would help him a lot.
In Arizona,
why won't the president meet with us so we can address community concerns?
The sheriff of Cochise County, a Republican, also calling on President Joe Biden to visit his border state. Daily migrant apprehensions in Border Patrol's Tucson sector have nearly doubled in just months, a Homeland Security official says. Smugglers are dropping off large groups of migrants in remote areas, creating a transportation nightmare, according to CBP.
We need the federal government to act.
Arizona's Democratic governor also frustrated with the Biden administration's border response.
We need the federal government to step up and do its job and secure our border.
The Biden administration has asked Congress for $14 billion to hire more Border Patrol agents, asylum officers, and immigration judges. Critics say that's not the right action or enough of it to address the issue, but the White House has blamed Congress for not passing new laws concerning immigration, saying without those, the administration is limited in what it can do in terms of securing the border and determining what happens with the U.S. immigration process. The issue is very politically divisive, so lawmakers have faced an uphill battle in finding compromise.
On this date in world history.
December 8th, 1542 was when a girl named Mary Stuart was born. Well, what's remarkable about that was the fact that her father was the King of Scotland, and he died 6 days later, leaving Mary, Queen of Scots. As a baby, she reigned until 1567 when Scottish nobles forced her to abdicate the throne. Yesterday, we told you how the December 7th attack on Pearl Harbor brought the U.S. into World War II, but it was on the 8th of December 1941 that the U.S. Congress formally declared war on Japan following the now famous request by President Franklin D. Roosevelt. And this was the date in 1980 when musician John Lennon was shot and killed in New York City. The 40-year-old Briton had been part of the Beatles, probably the most famous band of the 20th century.
World of knowledge. Who was the first woman to be inducted into both the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Country Music Hall of Fame? Brenda Lee, Patsy Cline, Dolly Parton, Carrie Underwood. The lady who sang Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, Brenda Lee, is in both Halls of Fame.
And that song she recorded 65 years ago just hit #1 this week for the first time on the Billboard Hot 100, a song chart that Billboard magazine publishes each week. It measures streams, sales, and play on the radio, and Brenda Lee's holiday classic unseated Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You, which she first released in 1994. Lee recorded Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree when she was 13 years old, and she and her record label put out promotional material recently to mark the song's 65th anniversary. Rockin' isn't her first #1. The songs I'm Sorry and I Want to Be Wanted both hit the top spot, but that was back in 1960.
This is kelp, a type of big leafy seaweed. It's a growing crop. Kelp farming is great for the coastal economy. During the months that lobstermen can't go out for their spiny catch, they can instead grow these vast lines of seaweed. Sounds good, but according to John Levitt of Duxbury Sugar Kelp Farm, there's a problem.
Traditional lines are usually longer lines, and they're about 7 feet below the surface, with vertical buoys going up and vertical lines down to the anchors. And that's one of the challenges because entanglement is one of the biggest threats around here, the North Atlantic right whale.
North Atlantic right whales are the size of a school bus, and there are fewer than 350 left on the planet. They like to swim near the surface and are incredibly friendly. They spend most of their time chasing their oily food around in the ocean, but that also puts them at risk in some areas.
They're focusing on that food resource and not what's around them. So when they encounter a fishing line or any type of rope in the system, the water system, then their instinct is to roll. And with that rolling, they catch themselves up even more and tighten that rope around their body and become entangled in multiple ways.
Lovett is one of the people trying to fix that.
Because we are, operating under, trying to operate under whale-safe conditions, we pin the kelp arrays very close to the bottom, to the ocean floor. So probably only about 2 to 3 feet off the bottom of the floor. And what that does is it sinks all the gear, so basically you don't see anything. As you go, boats go over top of it, whales theoretically can go over top of it, and it's right down there near the ocean floor.
Lovett is working with the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. Together, they're finding ways to help the kelp industry continue to grow, so to speak, without putting whales at deadly risk.
Okay, think fast. Who was the 5th president of the United States? We're guessing he's the namesake of the first school we're mentioning today in the land of enchantment of New Mexico. Mr. Jones's class at James Monroe Middle School is in Albuquerque. And in the Magnolia State of Mississippi, we've got some Bulldogs watching today. Coach Murphy's class is at Van Cleve Middle School in the community of Van Cleve. Pitbull, Catahoula Leopard Dog, Jack Russell Terrier. It sounds like a joke, like these 3 dogs walk into a bark. The crazy thing is, these are 3 breeds that have been known to climb bark. And by that I mean some are able to climb trees. And if you've ever thought that's something only cats could do, well...
A California dog that went missing was found not in a bush, but up in a tree, roughly 25 feet up a tree. Luna's owners say she went missing for about a day before being found in the precarious position. The prevailing theory? A squirrel chase that went too far.
If she ever gets lost again, we look up because she can climb trees.
There are other dogs you might find up there. There's the Conifer Spaniel, the Aspen Pinscher, the Saluquoya, Greyhound Willow, Alpine Mastiff, Chihuahua Willow, Cheer Retriever, Alaskan Husky, the Sycamore, and of course, the Dogwood. Because with enough agility, what dog wouldn't go barking up the wrong tree? I'm Carl Azouz, dogging you with puns on the world from A to Z, even if it lands me in the doghouse.